this if you'd like to assist me. I've never had that many deals on there, like that much shavings.
Mm-hmm. That's a piece of gasket or something. Most of that's aluminum though. I wonder where would it be getting aluminum from?
Let me calculate passes.
Yeah, and then we need to look at where that aluminum could be coming from.
Inspected. No.
Got some ground covers off this rig. What you got going on? What'd you figure out?
I mean, honestly, nothing.
You didn't figure out nothing?
No. Don't you think if your car was coming apart or if something was broken or something like that, you know, that there'd be evidence in the valve cover in the head?
I mean, as much aluminum was in the filter, there's going to be aluminum in the cylinder. There's going to be aluminum like you see down here around these head stud little sections here, you know. There's going to be aluminum down in there.
Well, and when we have broken aluminum before, there was little carnage pieces like confetti, you know. It's a reward.
There'll usually be aluminum next to the spring seats. There'll be aluminum in the head stud.
Usually everywhere, somewhere.
Well, whatever is in the filter
in the lowest places.
is gonna travel through. That's weird. There's no aluminum in here.
And there's none on the other side either.
So if it was, let's think about that.
But we should disclose the milkiness because people are gonna be like, "That's a sign of a blown up engine."
The milkiness.
Yeah, like you know.
Well, that's because we put milk in them.
Protein.
Yeah, they need.
That's how you get horsepower gains.
We're always looking for the gains. We're always looking for the gains.
They're all about gains, if you can't tell.
So yeah, we put protein powder, milk,
ice cream,
creatine. We mix a bunch of stuff up in there. It's milk, goat's milk. No, it's we run ice water through the motor, so it gets really cold. And when the engine gets cold like that, it doesn't run long enough to heat the oil up and get rid of the condensation. Whereas a normal vehicle engine runs at 200 or 220 degrees. This one runs at 100.
Yeah, and we're not saying like we put ice in it, like it's just a little chilly.
Yeah, we go to the starting line and the water in the cylinder head, in this one, and the whole motor is 80 degrees or whatever. So after
the burnout and everything.
Yeah. So, and then when you unload it out of the trailer and all that, it never warms up enough to get rid of the condensation. So here's what I was thinking. You got aluminum rockers, which I don't. So I was like, well, maybe she's got a rocker going out because, if you got a rocker going out or getting trashed or whatever, rubbing on something, it'll put aluminum everywhere. But no, rockers, if there was aluminum coming from the rockers, it'd be all over this deal.
And the retainers are titanium.
Springs are titanium.
Yeah.
So then you got
push rods.
pooch rods.
Which, yes, they are very, very close to the head.
The pooch rods are they're actually rubbing the head in a few places. A lot of guys say they make better horsepower that way, and I'm not even joking. Those push rods get to deflecting at higher RPM, and so if they're just kissing the cylinder head, that keeps that push rod from deflecting. It's kind of a weird situation, but it's not shaving anything off the cylinder head. It's weird that it just started. So you got aluminum rockers, but we don't see anything wrong here.
Valves.
Valves are titanium. But if it was a bearing, it would be, if it was like a crank or rod bearing, it would be
copper.
Like a Babbitt style bearing, you know. Yeah, it would be copper.
The rods are steel.
It's got steel rods.
It's an iron block.
Right. I mean, there's a few other things. It could be like the camshaft's pushing forward, and like the thrust of the camshaft's pushing against that belt drive cover. That'll make aluminum.
But you think that maybe it would be leaking there or something like that if it's pushing forward that hard.
Maybe. And it could also be, but you would also think if that was happening, that it would get, that there'd be, you know, aluminum everywhere. It's really weird. Because I know some people are going to say, it's like, you know, well, if it's lower than the valve cover, though, and making chunks, then it's probably not going to be up in the valve cover. But man, it's crazy. Anytime I've ever had anything come apart in an engine, I don't care if it's in the bottom of the engine, on the top of the engine, on that side, or whatever, you can always find it in the, like, take the valve cover off and there's shit around the head studs, always. There's shit in the crevices, like you can always, that moves.
I feel like that's only if it's like big enough chunks that they can't get through the oiling system.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird that there's none in here.
I didn't change the oil because I thought something was wrong with it. I just remembered that
no,
it's been a while.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's been running great.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It could be a bent rod. I seen somebody in the Discord say that it may be a bent rod. If a rod was bent, and if it was bent bad enough, it would shorten the rod, which would bring the counterweight of the crankshaft up high enough, or the piston down low enough that the counterweight of the crankshaft could scrape the skirt of the piston. We've had that happen before in other LS-based engines, especially with stock rods. But it makes a hell of a racket.
Yeah,
it makes a hell of a racket. So,
and it ran weird. Like,
and it does. They do run weird because it has less compression in that hole and the piston's cocked over. But the next step would be we make sure, like, you know, camshafts.
so we need to drain the oil, right?
Yeah, when you drain the oil. I mean, I wouldn't, just because
I am.
I know you are, but I wouldn't, because knowing my luck, what would happen here is I would look everywhere, wouldn't find a problem. I'd need to fire it up to find a problem or see how bad the problem is again, check on the oil filter, and then I'd fire it up on brand new oil and get aluminum oil.
Well, I mean, it's Rotella. It's not like this is Maxima oil. I paid $40 for the whole oil change. Like,
that's true. So the next step would be, you know, make sure the cam doesn't have like a bunch of, you know, in play in it.
I don't know, you're moving the whole car.
Yeah, so. Not the cam's not moving, but yeah, check to make sure that the crankshaft ain't got a bunch of in play in it.
Well, especially after we just had converter problems.
But that's a thrust. That thrust bearing, I would guess, would be copper. Here's what I'm thinking, and I know it sounds silly because, you know, it's not really a good way to think about stuff, but that oil pump is shiny, and that aluminum
externally.
Yeah, and internally too, I imagine.
It's not all that shiny, but
the aluminum that was in your filter was shiny.
It was.
Gentlemen of the jury, I present to you our first suspect here.
But how would it get in there without going in there?
Well, if you will look, it goes in the bottom of the oil pump from the oil pan, comes out of the top of the oil pump here on the pressure side, goes down around the frame rail, goes right into the top of the filter. Then leaves the filter out the clean side of the filter and goes into the front of the engine there. So if the oil pump was coming apart inside and just pushing shiny aluminum everywhere, that shiny aluminum would go right into the filter, and then that would be the end of it. I mean, I'm sure there'd be little stuff that would make it through, that couldn't, you know, that would make it through that the filter didn't catch. There'd be some little stuff that the filter wouldn't catch. They would probably get in the motor, but for the most part, everything's going to be right here instead of. So that's why if there's nothing in the oil pan, there's nothing in the oil, there's nothing in the valve covers, and I even looked like down in the valley with a flashlight. I didn't see it. You know, there's no chunks of anything sitting in the valley. So the oil pump is a Peterson oil pump. I don't have a Peterson oil pump on my car, but I do know this. It's a 2-stage oil pump, and I've never had a 2-stage oil pump. So it's got 2 sections. It has a pump section here and a pump section
Do you
here.
have a light?
I always have a light.
Yeah.
You've got 2 sections. You have a pump section here and a pump section here. So there's a set of gears in here and a set of gears in here. And this one is a pressure side. And then this one is scavenge, or like it'll pull. You can hook this to the valley or something, and it'll actually pull instead of push.
Like the
Like a vacuum pump.
like the tubes on my dad's car that we nonstop get comments about.
But this engine doesn't have a sealed valley. It has drain back in the valley. So I didn't have any use for a scavenge, because that would be the only reason you'd want to really want to run a scavenge on this deal, is if the lifter valley doesn't have any drain back, then you plumb the scavenge into the lifter valley, and you can pull oil from the lifter valley, put it back in the pan or whatever you want to do. We didn't have any use for that on this engine. So I talked to Peterson, and I was like, hey, what do I do here? Can I still run this rig?
Wow.
And he said, because that pump came on another motor that we had bought, and it wasn't in great shape when we bought it. So. But it was like the rest of everything else in this deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
What a great guy.
so I talked to the guys at Peterson. He said, you can take it all apart. You can take the gears out of the scavenge side of the pump and don't put them back in. And then he said you just leave it open because it's not pumping anything.
Why would it start messing up now, though?
But I put caps on it because I figured it'd probably leak. Something would leak.
Well, yeah.
So this section of the pump doesn't have any gears in it anymore, which may cause an issue with, durability.
But why would it just now start messing up?
Well, maybe it's a durability. Maybe it's,
I don't know.
What do you mean just now? This thing's it's got 70 fucking passes on it or something. Maybe that's...
Right, so why did it not do that the whole 70 passes?
Well, whenever I called Peterson about this oil pump deal, I said it only needs to run for a month or two. This motor ain't gonna make it. And so,
That was a year and a half ago.
Maybe, I don't remember. Maybe he told me, yeah, you can do that for now, but eventually you're gonna
He's
need
like,
to fix
that's
it.
a Band-Aid.
Or he may have said, I wouldn't run it long like that. Or he
Well,
may have
like,
said, keep an eye on it. Or,
It ain't gonna last long.
oh, he did say...
Stop.
He said, if you're gonna cap that or whatever, and you gotta leave the idler gear or something there, he said, every once in a while, take the cap off, put a couple squirts of oil in there. Maybe we caused this, I don't know. But I'm guessing it's the oil pump. And I would be much happier if it was the oil pump.
Yeah, because he wants to take this puppy apart again.
If we take this motor apart, I don't know that I'll have the heart to put it back together. Like,
You will, because you don't give up on anything.
I
That's why that one's still in your car.
don't feel like I could put this deal back into service. If I take it apart again, there's no way I could put it back into service the way it is. I'd have to just...
And you're not even talking about the whole motor, though. We should disclose, because, literally a month ago, you're like, you should really think about getting aluminum block and then put those heads on it, Even though those are just as old and just as beat up.
Their heads are good. I got heads older than this. Those heads are good. That short block, though, that short block's been in the field
But
a
you
long
feel that
time.
way because it's iron, yeah.
Well, and it's been in the field a long time.
You have a different...
It's got... What do you mean because it's iron? It's got 3 different piston sizes in it. Literally 3 different part numbers, 3 different job numbers, 3 different sizes of piston, 3 different sizes
Three's
of
giving
bore.
it some grace. It could
And
have
Dart said that block was done at 4185 bore. That was 30. We bored at 30 over from there.
It depends which cylinder you're talking about.
4205, yeah, 4205. Long story short, I think it's the oil pump. I hope it's the oil pump. If it's the oil pump, it don't owe me nothing. It was on a piece of shit motor that you bought from whatever. Hopefully it's not that big a deal, and we can either put another oil pump on it, put one out like what I got on my car, or Peterson and give us the stuff to fix it. A spare? I'm sure I have a spare. Everything on this thing is one of my spares. I think it's the oil pump. You can drain the oil. Go ahead and drain the oil, whatever. Let's put it in something clear, so that you can let it sit and the stuff will fall, heavy stuff fall to the bottom. Then you sift it out into a bucket and you say, oh, wait, we got nothing.
Or gold mine it.
Yeah, or gold mine.
Maybe we look at the, oil pressure, right? Because it's from the oil pump. On, the last couple passes and just see if anything changed from, a couple passes before that, See if we see the thing coming apart.
Every run?
Well, yeah, I know you look at oil pressure every run.
I'll look. I'll go back. I'll
give it a gander.
What did I say? I'll circle back. Let's shelf that for now. We'll circle back.
Put a pin in it.
Let's put a pin in that. We'll circle back to it.
All the shitty terms from working for a production company. I feel you.
I hear you. No, I hear you.
I hear you. But we're going to put it on the shelf for now.
We're going to shelf that.
Put a pin in it.
We'll put a pin in that. We'll circle back around. Well, you know, we'll never think about it again. So get the oil out of this rig, and then I'm gonna keep messing with my lockup deal over here, and then I'll come over and pull this oil pump off. And I like pulling oil pumps off and taking them apart, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's only a couple bolts, easy to get to, critical tolerances. That's my kind of thing. Usually I only get to mess with critical tolerances after I take a whole engine apart, and that's a pain in the ass. So.
Plus this one's got varying critical tolerances.
Or I should make you take it off.
And
that way I don't have to even take it off. I just take it apart. That's a better idea.
I'm really busy.
Oh man, I don't know.
I get off in like an hour. So.
I'm really busy. The rest of my afternoon is just shot. What do you got going on under here?
Well, I had to acquire something clear, but this tote had a hole in the bottom. So I used this drawer.
A drawer?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's for my car wash towels.
It'll come clean.
No, it'll never be used again. Ew, that looks gross.
But there's like no shavings in it.
That's good.
If you look from the side, it's a little deceiving because there's some dirt on the outside. But if you wipe that off.
Yeah, what you need to do is just sift that oil out slowly, and then whatever's heavy falls to the bottom, and whatever's left over in there is their shavings, if there is any. It doesn't look like there is, though. We might be on to something. My oil pump theory seems to be getting better and better. We'll see tomorrow.